I know that there's been a lot of impassioned debate on this bill, and I want to start by thanking Chair Metz for the way that he has presented this bill, for his professionalism, for his integrity, because I do not believe that Chair Metz is bringing this bill forward because he wants to harm any individual, or that he is racist, or that he is a bigot. I do not believe that. And I just want to thank him for working with me on this bill. Yesterday I had a lot of questions, and I know that some folks in this process roll their eyes and sometimes they get annoyed. You know, why are we asking so many questions? We want to get out of here. Well, members, we were all elected by our constituents to fight for what we believe in. And I know that maybe this bill is not moving over in the Senate, but that doesn't matter as far as how long I'm going to debate this bill or how many questions I'm going to ask on this bill, because I believe that this bill is bad policy, and I believe that very strongly. Sanctuary cities. Sanctuary policies is a term that was adopted and borrowed by the church-centered sanctuary movement of the 1980s. That is why the Florida Conference of Catholic Bishops is opposed to this bill. It creates an incredible amount of liability issues, not in theory. This is not something I'm guessing about. There are several cases that have been documented where municipalities have been sued for complying with unlawful ICE detainer requests. In Pennsylvania, they settled a $95,000 case and settled that amount in damages and attorney's fees after it was found that they lacked probable cause to redetain an individual upon honoring an ICE detainer request. I have several more, but I'm not going to read them because I don't think that that's going to, unfortunately, influence your vote on this issue. But what is an ICE detainer request? It is just that. It is a request. It is not the law. This bill is not about following the law. An ICE detainer request is a request from the federal government to detain someone that they, in many cases, do not have probable cause to suspect is unlawfully in this country. It is a request that they expend their local resources to engage in federal immigration policy, which we already know the courts have said in and of itself is unlawful. And the reality is that undocumented immigrants, they have constitutional rights. And every single time I say that, the trolls come out of the woodwork on social media. No, they're not. They're illegal. Undocumented immigrants don't have constitutional rights, but they do. And the courts have said that they do. In 2001, the United States Supreme Court said, and I quote, "Once an alien enters the country, the legal circumstance changes. For the Due Process Clause applies to all persons within the United States." All persons. And let's not forget that that is who we're talking about. Persons, human beings, not illegals. No person is illegal. I'm offended by that type of terminology. You know, the reason I take this bill personally is not because of anything that Chair Metz has said or done, because again, he has brought this bill forward with integrity and respect, but because I am the son of immigrants. because many of my friends are undocumented immigrants. They're not criminals. Many of you are probably thinking, well, yes, they are because they're here. No, they're not. They're not criminals, because to live undocumented in the United States is not a criminal violation. That is a fact. And they most certainly are not violent criminals. And what I'm saddened by is that much of the language that is in this bill suggests that there is a correlation between one's undocumented status and the likelihood to engage in a violent crime. That is not the case. In the exchange that I had with Chair Metz yesterday, I asked, is there any documented study that shows a correlation between a violent criminal act and someone's undocumented status? He provided no information. He provided an example, and the example he provided is a horrific tragedy, a horrific, disgusting crime. But the reality is that if we're going to enact policies, it shouldn't be in reaction to one tragic murder. It should be in response to careful research on whether immigrants actually boost United States crime rates. And if you don't believe me, what I just said was actually a quote from the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank that has analyzed this issue. And what they have found is that not only is there no correlation between an undocumented immigrant and their status and violent criminal acts, but they have in fact found the opposite. Just as has been found by the New York Times, who said that based on an analysis of census data between 1980 and 2010, it shows that immigrants were 1/2 to 1/5 as likely to be incarcerated as those born in the United States. Why? Well, let me offer what I believe to be the case, which is that because undocumented immigrants are hard workers who are here to look after their families and provide a better future for their loved ones, they are aware of their undocumented status, and they are scared. They are nervous, especially in Trump's America. And they don't want to step even one toe out of line. They don't want to break the law. They don't want to draw attention to themselves. That's why undocumented immigrants are substantially less likely to engage in violent criminal acts. Members, I'm saddened by this legislation. I'm saddened by much of the rhetoric that it unfortunately encourages. And I'll share with you that one of my Republican colleagues said something to me that resonated, and I wholeheartedly believe it to be true, which is that undocumented families are just as American as U.S. citizens, only without the paperwork. Members, I urge you to vote no on this bill. Thank you.